Hi my friends, welcome to the channel English Professionally, and we continue our playlist English Grammar from Zero, Lesson 18. Really, it's a very important playlist, so actually we look at different aspects on English grammar, and actually these lessons will be more and more difficult and they will be advanced too. Okay, so how will you ask a question in present simple? So generally, we have this structure. So a question word, for example, when, where, why, how, what, plus do or does, plus subject. So it's a general scheme, really. Look, when do I, we, you, they, so there is a question word, then do or does, and then you have a subject. So if you have I, we, you, they, you need do, and if you have he, she, it, you need does. Look at these examples. When do you do it? When do you watch English movies? So we have do because of you. When do you learn English? When do you go to school? When does she see him? When do they see her? When does it happen? When does he come? Okay, so we had examples with when. Let's look at why. So we have the same thing, the same situation. So do or does. Why do I, we, you, they? Why does he, she, it? Why do you learn English? Why do you support him? Why do you teach English? Why do you do it? Why does it happen? Why does it seem interesting? Why does it seem boring? Why does it interest you? Why do you think so? Okay, so let's look at some examples with what. Okay, so you have what, do or does, and then you have a subject. Look, what do I, we, you, they? What does he, she, it? What do you think about it? What do you sell? What do you buy there? What do you teach? What do you mean? What do you want to say? What does it mean? What do you need? What does she need? What does he need? What do you want? Okay, and then we have different questions with how. Okay, how, do or does, how do I, we, you, they, how does he, she, it. So, how do you do it? How do you explain it? How do they speak? How do they understand it? How do you pay? How do you feel? How does she feel? How do you get to work? How do you get to school? How does she study? How does he feel? Okay, so we have different examples, especially for you. Yeah, so you know that we have lots of examples with when, then with why, what, and how. And so you'll see a mixture. So when, how, where, so whatever. So I think it's very effective, really. Okay, so I think that you remember how we ask a question. So we ask it this way. So first you have a question word. So for example, when, where, why, how, what, then do, does, and then you have a subject. Okay? Are you ready? So you can listen and repeat. So these questions are very common. When do you go to work? How does he explain it? Where do they live? Where does it happen? What do you think about it? How does he work? What does she remember? What do you buy there? What does she have? What do you see? How does he sell this product? How do they sell these things? What do they do? What does she say? How does she spend her free time? How do you spend your free time? What do you usually eat for breakfast? What do you teach? When does it start? When does it begin? How does she speak English? Why does he try to do it? What does he need? How does he get money? When does it usually happen? Why does he do it? Why do you believe him? Why do you learn English? What do they offer? Why does he teach English? Where do you work? Why does it seem boring? What do they sell there? How does it seem to you? We say, it seems to me. When do they see her? Where do they see her? When does she see him? Why does it happen so often? What do you want to say? When do you do it? Why do you support them? Why does she support him? What do they sell online? When do you watch English movies? Why does it seem interesting to you? Where do you study? What does she know about this thing? How do you use it? Why do you agree? Where does he go? What does it mean? What do you mean? How does she do it? Why do you do it? Why does she tell him about it? Or why does she tell him about that? When does he come home? Where do they do it? What does she need? How does he say it? When do you learn English? Why do you think so? What do you need? Why does it interest you? Where does he run? Where does he play this game? Why does it seem strange? Okay, so I think it's a very good practice, very good English grammar and speaking practice, and this playlist is very important, so let's continue and let's learn new words, phrases, grammar rules and structures. Okay, thanks a lot. Thank you.